three regions. That first one is the duodenum or the duodenum. Pronouncing either way is fine. And this is the smallest region. It's only about 10 inches long, that first duodenum. Small intestine is where you have nutrient absorption. Okay, so one of the things that you want to look for when identifying the small intestine are the villi. The villi are these finger-like projections. They look a little bit like fingers. These things right here. These. More surface area, that's right. So you can get those nutrients absorbed from out of the tract and into the blood quickly as the food materials pass through. All right, so let's do the main layers first. Yeah, you do need to know what kind of epithelia all of these organs have. The stomach was simple columnar. It's hard to identify from the slide, but you should know that. The rugae, I forgot to mention from the stomach, is a wrinkle or a fold in the stomach. It's a macroscopic structure, so I didn't even bother to put it up there. And so when it comes to the intestines, you have the plica or plicae circularis. That's the same thing. It just means a circular fold. And that's also a macroscopic structure. So if you'd held it up, I mean, it's not apparent here. I see it goes down a little bit right there, just kind of overall. If you held it up to the light, it might look a little bit like a wave, okay, depending on which slide you got. May or may not have seen a plica. But so that's a macroscopic structure. I won't test you on that. All right, so let's do the main layers. Okay, from the tips of the villi all the way down to there. What's that main layer?
Mucosa.
Mucosa, yeah. Okay, don't fall asleep on me, guys. Okay, what's this main layer from here to here?
Submucosal.
Submucosa, good. Gotta power through the last 2 units. I know it gets a little tough. Okay, and what's this main layer here?
The muscularis externa.
Yeah, that's the muscularis externa. It looks like it's got a little bit of something else. Looks like maybe a little bit of external tissue connected onto this. Some adipose tissue down there. That's not really what the serosa looks like. It's just another tissue from another organ, it looks like. Okay, and so let's zoom in a little bit on that mucosa. Some good structures in here. One more time. Okay, so we're zooming in on a villus here. So what kind of epithelia is that right there? Actually, it looks pretty good.
Simple columnar.
Simple columnar, yeah. And look at the microvilli. See that little marker line? That's the microvilli. That increases surface area too, as well. Okay, so here's the simple columnar. There's the nuclei. This is inside of the villus. This is where the areolar tissue is. Also, the name for that is the lamina propria. This is where your nutrients are absorbed. Goes across these epithelial cells and into the capillaries and lacteals that are inside of here, inside the villi. That's how they get into your blood. Okay, what about these? What are these?
Goblet cells.
Goblet cells, yeah, and they're supposed to look like a goblet cup, like goblet wine glass, more or less. Kind of does. Okay. So what kind of tissue is this? Not pointing to the blood vessel, but just the general tissue.
Areolar?
Yeah, that's areolar tissue, and that's called the lamina propria, all inside the villi, continues down here. This is the areolar tissue. This is the lamina propria. Okay, I probably should back up now. I'm a little too close. But that was cool to see it that close. All right, so we get down in here. Okay, so this is still the mucosa, main layer. These structures down here, these are the intestinal crypts. Sometimes they look a little more circular, sometimes they look elongated. And what this is the base of the villus. Okay, so I know it doesn't look like it, but it might be from another villus that's been cut off, because you can imagine they go all the way around the whole organ. This is where you have regeneration of the simple columnar cells at the bottom of the villi. Okay, so these are connected to some villi, maybe not these ones, but these are connected to other villi that you're not seeing, that were sticking out, and this is where you get regeneration. So those are the intestinal crypts. All right, so then we're looking for the little skinny layer of smooth muscle. It's a little tough to see. Now I'll pick a good example of that, don't worry. Muscularis mucosae. And then what's our main layer here?
Submucosal.
Submucosa. Good. Does anyone remember what kind of tissue submucosa is? Dense, irregular connective tissue? Yeah. Lots of collagen fibers. Definitely some blood vessels going through there. All right, now here's a good example of, well, that's kind of a weird color. A good example of this main layer from here to here.
The muscularis externa.
Muscularis externa, yeah, and you can even see a little something in between. That's probably the myenteric plexus, that nerve plexus that innervates it. And yeah, we saw that already.
The duodenum.
The serosa is a really thin layer, right on the outside. Sometimes it's really thin. I mean, simple squamous with sometimes a little bit of areolar tissue, and I've not seen it right there. Was there a question?
The duodenal glands.
The duodenal gland? Yeah, thanks. I'll look for those.
Oh,
what
okay.
kind of tissue is this?
Smooth muscle.
Smooth muscle? Good, good. Oops, looking in the wrong spot. Should I be looking in the mucosa or the submucosa for the duodenal glands?
Submucosal.
The submucosa. Looking in the wrong spot. Here's the duodenal glands here. More or less circular. Okay, got everything there. All right, let's move on. Questions about duodenum?